The red dirt of Crimson Ridge painted everything in blood today. Explosions shook the ground as human soldiers ducked behind twisted metal barriers, their rifles crackling against alien energy weapons. The air smelled like burnt ozone and fear. Lee. Junho pressed his back against a fallen transport, medical kit clutched tight in his sweaty hands. 3 years as a combat medic had taught him to keep his head down and wait for the shooting to stop. But today felt different. Today, something was wrong with the Viridians. Their princess floated above the battlefield like a glowing angel of death. Princess Naya, they called her. Her psychic shield shimmered around her like liquid starlight, deflecting human bullets as if they were raindrops. For months she had been untouchable, unstoppable, the reason why Earth was losing this war. Junho watched through his scope as she raised her hands, preparing to unleash another wave of psychic energy that would turn his squad into paste. But then something strange happened. The golden glow around her flickered. She stumbled in midair. The other soldiers cheered, thinking someone had finally landed a lucky shot. But Junho saw the truth. No weapons had touched her. Her own power was eating her alive from the inside. Princess. Naya crashed into the rocky ground 50 meters away, her perfect silver armor cracked and smoking. The psychic barriers that had protected her army vanished like soap bubbles. Suddenly the Viridians were just as vulnerable as everyone else. "Stay down, medic!" Sergeant Kim Tae-hyung shouted over the gunfire. "Could be a trap." But Junho was already moving. His legs carried him forward before his brain could catch up. Every instinct screamed at him to stay behind cover, to let the alien princess die. She had killed hundreds of his friends. She deserved whatever was happening to her. Yet, something pulled him toward her fallen form. Maybe it was his medical training. Maybe it was stupid human curiosity. Maybe it was the way she looked so small and broken against the red stones, nothing like the terrifying warrior who had haunted his nightmares. Plasma bolts sizzled past his ears as he zigzagged across the open ground. A Viridian sniper's shot missed his head by inches, leaving a burning smell in his hair. His heart hammered so hard he thought it might explode. Princess Naya lay twisted among the rocks, her long silver hair spread around her like spilled mercury. Up close, she looked almost human, except for the pale blue skin and the strange marks, glowing faintly along her neck. Her breathing came in short, painful gasps. Junho dropped to his knees beside her, medical instincts taking over. Her pulse felt wrong under his fingers, racing and stuttering like a broken engine. But when he touched her wrist to check for injuries, something impossible happened. The glowing marks on her skin flared brighter. Her ragged breathing steadied. The pain lines around her closed eyes began to smooth away. Junho jerked his hand, back terrified. In 3 years of war he had learned that touching aliens usually meant death. Their biology was poison to humans, just as human contact was deadly to them. Everyone knew that, so why was Princess Naya getting better? Her eyes snapped open, revealing irises like polished silver coins. She stared up at him with confusion and something that might have been wonder. When she spoke, her voice carried a musical accent that made his skin tingle. "You should not be here, human," she whispered. "I should be dead." Junho's hands shook as he stared down at Princess Naya. Everything he'd been taught about alien contact screamed warnings in his head. Human skin was supposed to burn Viridian flesh on contact. Their biology was toxic to each other. That's why both sides wore sealed armor during combat. But here she was, silver eyes locked onto his, very much alive when she should be dying. "Don't move," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to her or himself. "Something's happening." The princess tried to sit up, wincing as pain shot through her body. Junho instinctively reached out to steady her, his bare palm pressing against her shoulder where the armor had cracked away. The moment his skin touched hers, both of them gasped. It felt like touching a live wire, but instead of pain, warmth flooded through Junho's arm. The strange marks along Naya's neck pulsed brighter, and he could swear he felt electricity dancing between them. Not the painful kind that came from broken equipment, but something alive and gentle. "Impossible," Naya breathed, staring at the point where they connected. "Your touch should be killing me." Instead, the opposite was happening. The nasty gash across her forehead sealed itself as Junho watched, leaving behind smooth blue skin. A deep cut on her arm that had been bleeding silver liquid closed up like it was being sewn by invisible hands. Even her labored breathing became steady and strong. Junho pulled his hand away in panic, and immediately Naya's face contorted in pain. The healing stopped. The glow in her neck markings dimmed. "Wait," she gasped, reaching for him. "Please, I can feel my life returning when you touch me." Against every rule of first contact, every safety protocol drilled into his head, Junho placed both hands on her arms. The reaction was instant and incredible. Energy flowed between them like water finding its level. Her wounds continued healing, but something else was happening too. Junho felt stronger. His exhaustion from running across the battlefield melted away. His mind felt clearer, sharper than it had ever been. Colors seemed brighter. He could hear individual voices in the chaos of battle around them, could smell the different metals in the scattered weapons. "What are you doing to me?" he asked, though part of him already knew this was something mutual. Princess Naya's eyes widened as she studied his face. "I am not doing anything to you, human. You are doing something to me. My psychic core was burning. Out. We call it the final fade. No Viridian survives it, yet your presence is cooling the fire in my mind." She sat up slowly, testing her newly healed body. The armor around her shoulders had completely shattered, revealing more of those glowing patterns that seemed to pulse in rhythm with Junho's heartbeat. "My people have studied humans for years," she continued, wonder creeping into her voice. "We thought you were psychically dead, useless, but you are not dead at all. You are something else entirely." Junho felt a chill despite the warmth still flowing between them. "What do you mean?" "You are like a calm lake where my burning mind can rest. Your bioelectric field resonates with mine, but in reverse. Where I create psychic energy, you absorb and stabilize it. Where you generate life force, I can channel and amplify it." The battle continued to rage around them, but it felt distant now, like watching a movie. Junho realized they were sitting in the eye of a storm, protected by something neither of them fully understood. "This changes everything," Naya whispered, her silver eyes reflecting emotions Junho couldn't read. "If other humans can do what you do, if this connection is possible—" She didn't finish the sentence, but they both knew what she meant. The war, the hatred between their species, the certainty that they could never coexist. All of it might be built on a lie. Junho dragged Princess Naya behind a cluster of broken rocks as plasma fire erupted around them. The battle had turned chaotic when her psychic shields disappeared, and now both armies were fighting blind in the dust and smoke. "We need to get out of here," he panted, checking his medical scanner. The readings made no sense. According to the device, Naya's life signs were stronger now than when he'd first found her. She leaned against the rocks, silver hair matted with red dust, but her eyes were sharp and alert. "Tell me your name, human." "Junho. Lee Junho." He kept his rifle ready, watching for movement through the haze. "And you don't need to call me human like it's a curse word." A small smile crossed her lips. "Junho, I am Naya of the Third House, daughter of the Viridian High Council. And I owe you my life." "Yeah, well, don't mention it to your friends out there. They're still trying to kill me." Naya's expression grew serious. "They do not understand what has happened here. Neither do I, fully. But I know enough to be frightened." Junho glanced at her, surprised by the admission. "Frightened? You're the one who's been tearing through our forces for months." "That was before." She touched the spot on her shoulder where his hand had been. "Junho, my people have a saying. When the mind burns too bright, the body becomes ash. It is how all powerful Viridians die, eventually. Our psychic abilities consume us from within." She stood slowly, testing her balance. "I felt it beginning 3 days ago. The burning in my thoughts, the way colors became too bright, sounds too loud. I had perhaps hours left before the final fade took me." "But you're fine now," Junho said, confused. "Better than fine, actually." "Yes, because of you." Naya turned to face him fully. "Your species has been dismissed by the Galactic Council as psychically dead, primitive, useful only as laborers or soldiers. But they are wrong. An explosion nearby showered them with debris. Junho wiped dust from his eyes and waited for her to continue. You are not psychically dead, Junho. You are psychically neutral. Do you understand the difference? A dead thing cannot affect the living, but a neutral thing can balance what is out of control. The implications hit him like a physical blow. You're saying humans are some kind of psychic stabilizers? More than that, much more. Naya's eyes gleamed with excitement and fear. When you touched me, I felt my burning thoughts cool and settle, but I also felt your mind expand. Your reflexes quicken, your strength increase. We are not just compatible, Junho. We are designed to work together. Junho's head spun. Everything humanity had been told about their place in the galaxy was wrong. They weren't the weak, primitive species everyone thought they were. They were something else entirely. How many psychic races are there in the galaxy? He asked. Dozens. And most of them face the same problem we do. The stronger their abilities, the shorter their lives. The Zephyrians burn out in decades. The Mindari barely live past their 100th year. All of us are slowly killing ourselves. With our own power. She gripped his arm, and again that warm energy flowed between them. But if humans can stabilize us, if this connection can be replicated with others of your kind, we become the most important species in the galaxy overnight. Junho finished, the weight of it settling on his shoulders. Yes, and that terrifies me because it means this war, all the death and hatred between our peoples, was based on ignorance. Your species was never meant to be conquered or enslaved. You were meant to be our partners. The sound of approaching boots made them both freeze. Soldiers were coming, and neither of them knew which side they belonged to. The voices were getting closer, and Junho recognized Sergeant Kim's angry shouts, mixed with alien words he couldn't understand. Both human and Viridian forces were converging on their position. They'll separate us, Naya whispered urgently. Your military will want to study what happened. Mine will execute me for consorting with the enemy. Junho checked his rifle's power. Cell half empty. Not enough for a real fight. Can you walk? Better than that. She placed her hand on his arm, and immediately he felt the strange energy connection spark to life. Trust me, Junho. We need to run, and I can help you run faster than you've ever imagined. They broke from cover together, Naya's fingers wrapped around his wrist. The moment they started moving, Junho felt like he'd been plugged into a power source. His legs pumped with inhuman strength, eating up ground in massive strides. The heavy medical pack on his back felt weightless. This is impossible, he gasped as they bounded over rocks that should have required climbing. Nothing is impossible when we work together, Naya replied, keeping pace beside him effortlessly. Her own movements had become fluid and graceful, no longer the stumbling steps of someone recovering from near death. Behind them, shouts erupted as both armies discovered their empty hiding spot. Plasma bolts and rifle fire lit up the rocks where they'd been moments before. They ran through a maze of canyons, carved into crimson ridges red stone. Junho's enhanced senses picked up every sound, every smell. He could hear individual footsteps. Pursuing them, could distinguish between human boots and Viridian hover steps. It was like having superhuman hearing. How are you doing this to me? He asked as they leaped across a gap that would normally require rappelling equipment. The same way you stabilized my psychic core, Naya explained between breaths. Our connection flows both directions. I channel energy into your muscles, your reflexes, your nervous system. You give me an anchor point to keep from burning out. They slid down a steep slope, using the loose gravel like a natural slide. At the bottom, Junho spotted movement ahead. A squad of human soldiers had circled around to cut off their escape route. Contact front, someone yelled. It's the medic and the alien princess. Junho raised his rifle, but Naya touched his shoulder. Let me show you something else we can do together. She closed her eyes for a moment, and suddenly Junho could see the battlefield like a three-dimensional map in his mind. He knew exactly where each soldier was hiding, could predict their movements before they made them. It was like having tactical software installed directly in his brain. Duck left now, Naya whispered. Junho threw himself sideways, just as a sniper's shot burned through the air where his head had been. He rolled behind cover and returned fire with inhuman precision, his enhanced reflexes making every shot count. They moved through the human patrol like ghosts, always one step ahead of their pursuers. Junho's normal combat skills had been amplified, beyond anything he'd thought possible. He felt like he could run for hours without getting tired, could see in the growing darkness like it was broad daylight. But the most amazing thing was how natural it felt. Working with Naya wasn't like using some alien technology. It was like discovering a part of himself he'd never known existed. "There's a Viridian transport ship crashed about 2 kilometers north," Naya said as they climbed out of the canyon. "System. If we can reach it, I might be able to repair the communications array, to call for help, to warn both our peoples about what we've discovered." Her silver eyes reflected the setting sun. "Word is already spreading, Junho. By now every intelligence agency in the galaxy knows that a human touched a Viridian and lived. They'll be coming for us." "All of them?" "All of them." The crashed Viridian transport lay twisted among ancient stone pillars, its silver hull split open like a broken egg. Junho and Naya approached carefully, their enhanced senses alert for any signs of survivors or pursuit. "Clear," Junho whispered, after scanning the wreckage with his rifle scope. The ship had been here for weeks, maybe months, based on the rust and plant growth covering the metal. Inside the transport, emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across alien corridors. Naya moved through the wreckage with practiced ease, her hands dancing over control panels that looked like abstract art. To Junho, "The communication array is damaged beyond repair," she said, frustration creeping into her voice, "but the databanks might still be intact." As she worked, Junho explored the rest of the ship. Most of it was standard military equipment, but one section made him stop and stare. The walls were covered in what looked like historical displays, with images and text in languages he couldn't read. "Naya, you need to see this." She joined him in front of a large display screen that had somehow survived the crash. Ancient symbols scrolled across its surface, accompanied by images that made Junho's skin crawl with recognition. "These are star charts," Naya breathed, her silver eyes wide with amazement. "But they're incredibly old. Thousands of years, maybe. Tens of thousands." The images showed various alien species, but two caught Junho's attention immediately. One looked like early humans, but taller and with strange markings along their skin. The other resembled Viridians, but their features were somehow softer, more familiar. "Can you read any of this?" Junho asked. Naya's fingers traced the ancient text, her expression growing more troubled with each line. "Some of it. This is Old Viridian, the language our ancestors spoke before the Great Exodus. But there are human words mixed in, which should be impossible." She continued reading, her voice becoming hushed with wonder and fear. "It speaks of two peoples, divided from one source. The builders, it calls them, those who made us both." Junho felt a chill run down his spine. "Made us? Not created from nothing," Naya clarified, still reading, "but guided, shaped, split apart, and sent to different worlds for a specific purpose." She looked up at him with frightened eyes. "Junho, according to this, humans and Viridians were once the same species. The implications hit him like a physical blow. That's why we can connect like this. We're not just compatible by accident." "No." Naya turned back to the display, her hands shaking as she accessed deeper files. "Look at this." New images appeared, showing the same human-like and Viridian-like beings working together. In every picture, they were touching, connected, their combined efforts accomplishing incredible feats of technology and psychic power. "The text calls it the Great Balance," Naya translated. "One half provides stability and strength, the other provides power and vision. Apart, both sides were incomplete. Together, they were unstoppable." Junho studied an image showing what looked like massive construction projects, cities that floated in space, technology that seemed like magic. "What happened to them? The builders, I mean." Naya scrolled through more files, her face growing pale. "War, not between the two halves, but with something else. An enemy so terrible that the builders chose to separate their people and scatter them across the galaxy, rather than risk total extinction. They split us apart to protect us, and programmed us to forget our connection, to ensure we could never be found and destroyed as one people. Naya's voice was barely a whisper, but they built in a fail-safe. If the threat ever passed, if the time came when the galaxy needed the great balance again, our two halves would recognize each other. Junho looked at his hands, still tingling, with the memory of their connection. "You think that time is now?" Before Naya could answer, the display flickered and showed one final image. It was a star map, but not of any region Junho recognized. In the center was a world that seemed to pulse with golden light. "The home world," Naya breathed. "The original planet where our ancestors lived together. According to this, it still exists." The sound of engines outside made them both freeze. Multiple ships were approaching and they didn't sound friendly. "We have to go," Junho said, but Naya was already downloading the ancient files to a portable storage device. "This changes everything." "We know about our species," she said urgently. "If this information reaches the right people, or the wrong ones," Junho added grimly as the first plasma bolts began striking the ship's hull. The first wave of attackers hit the crashed ship from 3 directions at once. Junho grabbed his rifle and peered through a crack in the hull, counting. Muzzle flashes in the darkness outside. "Human forces from the east," he reported to Naya, who was still frantically copying data from the ancient archives. "Viridian troops from the west, and something else from the north that I don't recognize." "Zephyrian scout ships," Naya identified grimly. "Word has spread beyond our 2 species. Every major power in this sector wants to capture us." An amplified voice boomed across the battlefield in perfect English. "Medic Lee Junho, this is Captain Park Minho of the Earth Defense Corps. You are ordered to surrender the alien prisoner and report for debriefing immediately." Junho winced. He knew Minho from training back on Earth. The man was as stubborn as a mountain, and twice as hard to move when he'd made up his mind about something. Another voice answered from the opposite direction, speaking in the musical tones of High Viridian. Naya translated in whispers. "Prince Thyros demands I return to face judgment for treason. He promises you a quick death if I cooperate." "How generous of him," Junho muttered, checking his ammunition. 2 magazines left, plus the emergency medical. Supplies that probably wouldn't stop energy weapons. The third group remained silent, but their ships cast ominous shadows overhead. Junho had heard stories about Zephyrian interrogation techniques. Apparently, they could pull thoughts directly from a person's mind, leaving nothing but an empty shell behind. "Data transfer complete," Naya announced, pocketing the storage device. "We have everything we need to prove our connection to both species." "Great. Now we just need to live long enough to show someone." Junho sealed his helmet and activated his combat visor. "How's that energy boost of yours working? Because I think we're about to need it." Naya placed her hand on his shoulder, and immediately the familiar warmth flowed between them. His vision sharpened, his reflexes quickened, and his exhaustion melted away like morning frost. "Better," he grinned. "Let's show them what humans can really do." They burst from the wreckage in a coordinated assault that caught all 3 armies off guard. Junho moved with inhuman speed and precision, while Naya's restored psychic abilities created confusion among their enemies. Plasma bolts meant for Junho curved away at the last second. Human rifle rounds that should have found Naya somehow missed, by impossible margins. Captain Park's voice crackled over the comm channels. "What the hell is wrong with that medic? He's moving like some kind of super soldier." From the Viridian lines, Prince Thyros shouted orders in his native tongue. Junho didn't need a translation to understand the growing panic in the alien commander's voice. But it was the Zephyrian response that worried him most. Their ships began descending, preparing to land boarding parties with specialized psychic suppression equipment. "They're not trying to capture us anymore," Naya observed as they took cover behind a fallen pillar. "They want to eliminate us before we can share what we've learned." Junho reloaded his rifle with practiced efficiency, because if other humans and Viridians learn, they can work together like this. It would change the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Naya's silver eyes reflected the plasma fire lighting up the night. Every psychic species would want human partners. Every non-psychic race would suddenly find themselves obsolete. The ground shook as Zephyrian drop pods slammed into the earth around them. Armored figures emerged, carrying weapons that hummed with psychic energy, designed to scramble thoughts and break mental connections. Can you maintain our link if they hit us with those? Junho asked. I don't know. No one has ever tested human viridian, bonding against Zephyrian suppressors before. Well, Junho said, taking aim at the nearest Zephyrian soldier, I guess we're about to find out. The real battle was just beginning, and now they weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the future of both their species. The ancient temple rose from the red rocks like a forgotten dream, its stone walls carved with symbols that seemed to shift and dance in the moonlight. Junho and Naya stumbled through its entrance as energy blast scorched the ground behind them. In here, Naya gasped, leading him deeper into the structure. The stone will block their scanners for a few minutes. Inside, the temple was surprisingly intact. Pillars stretched toward a domed ceiling covered in star maps that looked eerily similar to the ones they'd found in the crashed ship. But there was something else here, something that made Junho's skin tingle with recognition. This place feels familiar, he said, running his fingers along the carved walls. Like I've been here before in a dream. Naya nodded, her silver eyes wide with wonder. I feel it too. The builders were here, Junho. This is one of their sacred places. The sounds of their pursuers grew closer. Boots on stone, the whine of charging weapons, voices calling out coordinates in 3 different languages. They had maybe minutes before the temple would be surrounded. The Zephyrian suppressors will cut through this stone eventually, Naya said, pressing her palm against his. But here in this place maybe we can go deeper than they can reach. What do you mean? Instead of answering with words, she placed both hands on either side of his face. The moment their skin connected, something extraordinary happened. The warm energy that had flowed between them before became a raging river. Junho gasped as Naya's thoughts touched his mind. Not just her current thoughts, but memories, emotions, experiences that belonged to her alone. He saw her childhood on the crystal spires of Viridian Prime, felt her terror during her first battle, understood the weight of royal duty that had shaped her entire life. And she was seeing his memories too. His quiet childhood in Seoul, the day he'd volunteered for off-world medical service, the friends he'd lost in this endless war. But more than that, she was experiencing what it felt like to be human. The stubborn hope that kept them fighting impossible odds, the fierce loyalty to people they loved, the unshakable belief that tomorrow could be better than today. We are not just connected anymore, Naya whispered, her voice echoing inside, his mind as well as his ears. We are becoming something new. Junho felt his consciousness expand beyond his own skull. Through Naya's psychic senses, he could perceive the soldiers surrounding the temple, could sense their emotions and intentions. Captain Park's determination mixed with worry for his former medic, Prince Thyros's anger and confusion at his sister's betrayal of everything they'd been taught, the cold, calculating hunger of the Zephyrian mind raiders. But he could also sense something else. The temple itself was alive with ancient energy, resonating with their combined presence. The carved symbols on the walls began to glow with soft, golden light. Junho, look, Naya said aloud, though he'd already seen it through their shared awareness. The star map on the ceiling was moving, showing the positions of worlds across the galaxy. But now new connections were appearing, lines of light linking different star systems in patterns that hadn't been visible before. It's responding to us, Junho realized, to what we've become. Through their deepened bond, they could feel each other's abilities merging and amplifying. Junho's human resilience and adaptability, combined with Naya's psychic power, created something that was greater than the sum of its parts. He could now move objects with his mind, while she gained his enhanced physical strength and endurance. The HFY builders designed this, Naya said in wonder. This is what they intended, not just cooperation between our species, but true unity. The temple doors exploded inward as their pursuers finally breached the entrance. Energy weapons powered up with deadly whines, and orders were shouted in multiple languages. But Junho and Naya no longer felt afraid, standing together in the heart of the ancient temple, connected by bonds deeper than either species had ever imagined possible. They finally understood their true potential. Ready? Junho asked, though he already knew her answer through their shared thoughts. Let's show them what we've become, Naya replied. The golden light from the temple walls pulsed brighter, responding to their unified will. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The temple filled with armed soldiers from 3 different armies, their weapons trained on Junho and Naya. In the golden glow of the ancient walls, the scene looked like something from a nightmare. Humans in combat armor, Viridians in their flowing battlesuits, and Zephyrians in their mind-shielded helmets, all united in their determination to capture or kill the 2 figures standing at the temple's heart. Captain Park stepped forward, his rifle steady but his eyes filled with confusion. "Junho, what have they done to you? You're glowing, man." It was true. The connection between Junho and Naya had become visible, streams of golden energy flowing between them like liquid starlight. The ancient symbols carved into the temple walls pulsed in rhythm with their shared heartbeat. "Nobody did anything to me, Captain," Junho replied, his voice carrying new strength and confidence. "I finally found out what humans are really capable." Gov Prince Thyros emerged from the Viridian ranks, his elegant armor gleaming in the strange light. When he spoke, his words were directed at his sister, sharp with betrayal and anger. "Translate for me," Junho whispered through their mental link. Naya's voice carried both her brother's words and her own pain. "He says I have betrayed our people by bonding with a primitive species, that I have polluted our royal bloodline with human contamination. Tell him he's wrong about humans being primitive," Junho said aloud, knowing that many of the Viridians present understood some English. "We're not primitive. We're just different. And different doesn't mean lesser." The Zephyrian commander stepped forward, removing their helmet to reveal a face that looked almost human, except for the pale, translucent skin and completely black eyes. When they spoke, their words bypassed the ears entirely, appearing directly in everyone's minds. "You will surrender the data you have stolen. The knowledge of the builders must not spread. It will upset the natural order of the galaxy." "Natural order?" Naya laughed, the sound echoing both aloud and telepathically. "You mean the order where psychic species die young while burning out their own minds, where humans are treated as slaves and cannon fodder? That's not natural. It's wasteful." Junho felt the Zephyrians' mental probe trying to pierce their shared consciousness, attempting to rip the ancient knowledge from their minds by force. But the probe couldn't penetrate their combined defenses. Where one mind might be vulnerable, 2 minds working as one created an unbreachable wall. "Fire the suppressors," the Zephyrian commander ordered. 3 different weapons designed to scramble. Psychic connections discharged at once, filling the temple with waves of disruptive energy. Junho felt the attack like ice water in his veins, trying to freeze the warm connection between him and Naya. But instead of breaking their bond, the suppressor beams seemed to make it stronger. The golden energy flowing between them flared brighter, and suddenly Junho could feel the minds of everyone in the temple. Captain Park's growing amazement as he realized his former medic was not just surviving a psychic attack, but thriving under it. Prince Thyros's shock as he felt his sister's presence stronger and clearer than ever before. The Zephyrian commander's fear as they realized their most powerful weapons were useless. "This is impossible," the Zephyrian whispered, both aloud and mentally. "No," Junho said, stepping forward with Naya beside him. "This is evolution." Together, they raised their hands. The golden light from the temple walls suddenly blazed like a miniature sun, filling the entire structure with warm, harmonious energy. Every weapon in the room powered down. Every piece of electronic equipment went silent. But instead of darkness, there was only peace. Through their expanded awareness, Junho and Naya shared what they had learned with every mind present. The true history of their species. The ancient partnership that had been forgotten. The potential for cooperation instead of conquest. "We don't have to be enemies," Junho said, his words reaching not just the soldiers in the temple, but being broadcast through every communication device on the battlefield outside. Humans and Viridians were meant to work together. All the psychic races can benefit from partnership instead of domination. In the stunned silence that followed, Captain Park slowly lowered his weapon. "Junho, are you saying humans aren't just soldiers and laborers?" "We're partners, Captain. Equals. We always were." 6 months after the Battle of Crimson Ridge, the Kaum, former human medical station, had been transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. The Harmony Station, as it was now called, buzzed with activity from dozens of different species, all eager to understand the breakthrough that had changed everything. Junho stood in the main observation deck, watching ships from across the galaxy dock at the station's expanded ports. Viridian cruisers arrived alongside human transports. Zephyrian research vessels shared space with craft from species he was still learning to identify. All of them came seeking the same thing: partnership. The Altarian delegation just arrived, Naya said, joining him at the viewport. Even after all these months, her presence still filled him with that warm sense of completion. Their bond had only grown stronger with time and practice. How many does that make? Junho asked, though he already knew the answer through their shared awareness. 47 species have requested formal partnerships. 12 more are sending representatives next week. Naya smiled, but he could sense her exhaustion beneath it. Sometimes I think we've bitten off more than we can chew. The transformation hadn't been easy. The first weeks after their demonstration in the ancient temple had been chaos. Military leaders from all sides had demanded explanations. Scientists had wanted to run endless tests, and politicians had tried to figure out how to profit from the discovery. But Captain Park had become an unexpected ally. Once he understood what humans were truly capable of, he'd helped convince Earth's leadership to embrace their new role rather than fear it. "We've spent so long thinking we were the underdogs," he'd told the Human Defense Council. "Turns out, we were the missing piece everyone needed." Prince Thyros had been harder to convince. The Viridian nobility struggled with the idea that their superior race needed humans to reach their full potential. But when other Viridian human pairs began demonstrating the same incredible abilities, even the most stubborn aristocrats couldn't deny the evidence. The Zephyrians had initially tried to suppress the information, but word spread too quickly across the galaxy. Species that had been slowly dying from psychic burnout suddenly saw hope for their futures. Within weeks, delegations were arriving at Crimson Ridge from worlds Junho had never heard of. "Dr. Song's team just finished their latest compatibility tests," Naya reported, gesturing toward the research labs visible through the observation deck's lower windows. "They've confirmed successful bonding potential between humans and 17 different psychic species." Junho shook his head in amazement. Dr. Song Mira had been the first scientist to take their discovery seriously, and her research had laid the groundwork for everything that followed. Her studies proved that humans weren't just compatible with Viridians, but could serve as stabilizing partners for most psychic races in the galaxy. "The Mindari ambassador wants to discuss establishing a permanent human colony on their homeworld," Naya continued. "Apparently, their Council of Elders is willing to grant full citizenship rights to any humans willing to bond with their people." "Full citizenship?" Junho raised an eyebrows. 6 months ago, humans had been considered barely more than clever animals by most galactic powers. Now they were being offered equal status on worlds they'd never even seen. Through the viewport, he watched a group of young humans and Viridians training together in the station's practice chambers. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, a dance of combined abilities that would have been impossible for either species alone. "Look at them," he said softly. "They make it look so natural." "Because it is natural," Naya replied. "We were always meant to work together. We just forgot for a few thousand years." A communication alert sounded, and Captain Park's face appeared on the nearest screen. "Junho, Naya, we've got another situation. The Galactic Council has officially requested a formal presentation of the symbiosis program they want to make it a recognized institution with full diplomatic status." Junho and Naya exchanged glances. Official recognition by the Galactic Council would mean humans would finally have a seat at the table where decisions affecting the entire galaxy were made. "Tell them yes," Junho said. "But on one condition: humans don't just get observer status anymore, we get full voting rights." Park grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that. Welcome to the big leagues, humanity." As the communication ended, Junho looked out at the stars beyond the viewport. Somewhere out there was the original homeworld of the Builders, still waiting to be rediscovered. But that was an adventure for another day. Today, humanity had finally found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or servants, but as the partners they'd always been meant to be.